What's up, everybody? This is TMX from the Tollman Experience, and today I want to talk to you about perceived value, what drives up prices in collectibles. Collectibles are a little bit different than the normal market. Normal market, most things are dependent upon supply and demand. It kind of works that way in collectibles as well, but the most driving factor is demand, and demand can be influenced by a lot of things, and we'll talk about how supply and perception and just the fact, the it factor, the X factor, whatever you want to call it, that kind of changes people's demands on product. I'll start off with Pokemon. So this is Charizard V. The supply on these were not that low. Like, I pulled this on my second pack. I don't know what the print run is on it. I didn't do the research on that, but Pokemon is printed a lot. Like, there's tons of Charizards. I'm sure there's hundreds on the census for PSA 10 Charizard V from Brilliant Stars. That does not deter people from wanting Charizard. Charizard, as I spoke about in the previous video, is an S tier Pokemon. It is highly regarded. People love Charizard. People love the fact that they can obtain a Charizard card rather easily, and then they want it. They want to get it graded, and it does help that it does have utility. It is strong in the game, but it is Charizard. It is a card that someone is always going to want, and this particular card, the last time I checked was about $200. It might have come down. I didn't do a lot of research in this. I'm just trying to talk to you on a broad spectrum about this. But when it first came out, it was only a couple bucks, and honestly, I bought the pack for like $4, and it was my second pack that I bought, and I got it, and I stopped. That was the last card that I bought out of that set. And the perceived notion that it's hard to get a Charizard V is the reason why a lot of people go after it, and the fact that people like the character. That's the X factor of that, and the fact that that Pokemon is held in a high regard. So that is why that particular card is that way. Now, look at another card. This is actually in very high demand when it first came out. It was going for over $100. This is Metazoo, the promo card, a PSA promo card that you get from New York City Comic Con if you submitted a PSA card. And I did so on the last day. It was Sunday last year, and they had tons of them. The demand was not high in these when it first came out as far as the general public. There's tons of them left over. They're easily obtainable now. People aren't as into Metazoo because of what had happened with the bankruptcy and all the drama and the theft and everything that was involved in Metazoo. So the demand dropped down. You can get these for $10 at one point, and now they went up a little bit more, but they're still not. I don't think they'll ever reach that $100 stage again, just because of the fact of think that this particular set, ruined Metazoo in a lot of people's eyes. It just carries a perception that is negative, and that perception influences the demand. The supply has not changed that I know of. They could have printed more, but it seemed that they had way more in supply than needed. The demand dropped down immediately, and now the value of it does not hold up. Now, somebody that I had spoken to a while ago wanted to get a bunch of older books graded, and they weren't like in demand books, so I was hesitant. I have a company where I press and clean comic books, that is TMX Comics LLC, and I was trying to tell them, just because it's an old book, that doesn't mean that it's valuable. Again, the demand is really what drives that, and it was a book that was really old, a really low supply. There were none graded, and I didn't think it was worth doing it because there was no demand. You could look at raw sales, and they were really low. There was very few of them, and they were all very low. So I said, I don't think it's worth the cost of me grading it, getting it cleaned, getting it pressed, getting all that stuff done to it. You're not going to make back what you have put into it. I'm going to argue with me, whatever. I did the books, and he's sitting on them. Now I want to talk to you about Amazing Spider-Man 129. This is another where the demand is fluctuates. His show's coming out. The Punisher show's coming. It's the first appearance of Punisher. His show's coming out. It spiked immediately upon announcement. The supply didn't change at all. This book came out in 1974. 1974. The supply has not gone up. They have not they're not printing this book. They are reprinting it, but that's a different story. But this particular book, the print run was long gone. They're actually deteriorating. There's things that happen where they're lost in fires and theft and all kinds of things. So the supply of them may diminish slightly over the years, but the demand has gone up and down depending on what happens. Marvel announces a movie, the demand goes up. The character gets is in the show or movie and people don't like it. They change something about it that they liked previously, and then the demand goes down and the price goes down. At the height of COVID, this book was in the thousands and thousands, and now this is very attainable. You could probably get this for like $2,000 right now, but previously this was closer to a $5,000-$6,000 book. And I know that for certain. I did another one that came out an 8.5, and that at that time was about a $3,000 book. And this was maybe 4 years ago in the height of collectibles. So it's just there's a lot of factors, but really it's the determination of demand. The demand has so many variables, and the supply can not change. It could go up even, and it's demand. If the demand is there, then it's going to go up. Especially when you look at collectibles in the COVID era. There's so many people who came into collectibles at that time were not knowledgeable. They weren't collecting like I've been collecting for 30 years. The people that have been collecting 2 weeks. There's a guy that went on a stream. I was selling comics, dollars comics, and they were running up the comics and they were buying them. And they asked me if I could sell them more, and I was like, sure, buy all these. And he said, well, which one of these would you get graded? I said, absolutely none of these. None of these are low supply. None of these are keys. They're just books. Just getting rid of books that I didn't want. And I could tell that he was kind of deflated about it, and he was happy that I was honest with him, that I'm not just trying to sell them like a lot of people do, and a lot of people do that on Whatnot still to this day. They're trying to push things that aren't in demand, that aren't necessarily hard to get, or they're really not worth it because there's nothing about them that should be worth it. I mean, there's no intrinsic value in any collectibles like these because it's just paper. It's paper and ink. But the extrinsic value that we put on things, it should be dependent on what you feel personally as a collector. Now, I love this. I love Amazing Spider-Man. This is not my book. This is a customer's book. He owes me $700 if he wants to pay up. But this is a book that I need in my collection. I have very strict collecting guidelines. I will not pay over $200 for a book, but I'm collecting all the Amazing Spider-Man, and I really would love this book. And if I found this book at a 1 or a 2.0, I would snag it up. There was a point where I was trying to, when I changed jobs, I was trying to cash out my 401k of my previous job, and they wouldn't cash it out in a check. They wanted me to transfer it to another 401k. I was considering buying 8.0 of this book, and I remember it was an astronomical amount at that time, and I was considering putting my money from my 401k into this book just because I wanted that much. Now, and luckily I didn't do that because again the price has gone down. But for me, this is a $3,000 book in my heart, because that's how much it means to me, because I know it's hard to get. It's hard to get a good copy of it. It's hard to get one that doesn't have a lot of damage to it. Like, this is a beautiful copy, and I did a really good job of cleaning this up because this was I believe like a 5 previously. So, but I really think that it means a lot to me, so therefore it holds value. And I think that's how people should really evaluate things when they're looking at collectibles and trying to purchase them for themselves. Like, yeah, Joe Schmo might say that it's worth this much. This guy online might be pushing it because he's got a large supply he's been holding on to forever. But that doesn't mean that that's what the value is. The value is what it is, an artificial thing. The value of collectibles is an artificial thing that the market just creates on any given day. It could go up, it could go down, it can go immediately to zero. But those are the variables. It's just all about demand. It's not about the supply. It's not about the fact that paper is more scarce, or they might be stopping printing comics because they've been saying that lie for 30 years now. It's just the fact of what does it value? What is the value to you? How do you feel when you own that? Do you need that? And if you don't, then don't be buying things that don't make you happy, that don't give you the feelings that your goosebumps on your back that you need to get that. So that's my 2 cents, and I appreciate y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your week, and peace.